It means turning your dreams into goals, to wear the things that you always imagined you would. Once you realize that, you drastically change how you live your life and what actions you take. Post the damn photo. Hi, and welcome to the first part of this podcast. How exciting is this? I'm a little nervous, I won't lie. So to get this podcast off to a good start, I've actually formulated this episode into a little mini interview just to keep things flowing smoothly. So starting off, let me just introduce myself real quick. Hi, my name is Ylva. I am originally from a small town in northern Sweden, and I currently work for a couple of founders in the wellness and Bitcoin industry, which allows me to work remotely and travel full-time, both for work and on my own. I've also been a content creator for years. It started out with blogs and photography and YouTube all the way back in the Tumblr era. And now I've recently started blending that creativity with storytelling, film, and lifestyle motivation. And this started with a little video series on my Instagram called Taking Charge of My Life, because that's kind of what I've been doing in the last few months. It's been a really crazy journey, and I wanted to share that in a personal and creative way. However, I felt like that didn't quite give me enough space to communicate all the value that I want to provide you guys with. And so I decided to create this podcast because it just felt like a natural evolution. So right now I'm in Bali, Indonesia, and I am living in Canggu, which is probably the most well-known area for digital nomads and expats here. And to put it mildly, the Bali cliché is so real. From the smoothie bowls and the beach walks and the coconuts to the Pilates gyms and the clubs and the scooters. All of it is very real, but like I've said before, clichés exist for a reason, and it's honestly been really great so far. So up until recently, I lived in a villa with 2 roommates who I met through Facebook, and it's been a wonderful experience. It worked out beautifully. However, that ended, and now I've moved in with 2 girlfriends who I met here into another villa, and it is so beautiful and so nice. I like it here so much. And honestly, that is definitely the best part about Bali. It's the community and how easy it is to meet people. And it's definitely why I came here in the first place. Because I feel like everyone is very much of the same mindset and on similar paths. Even if we all do different things, we all have the desire for freedom and for connection and for following what you're passionate about. To me, there's just a very strong sense of community, and people tend to be very open-minded and curious. And I think that is something that is so rare, and it's something that I've never really experienced in my travels before. So the Bali cliché in all its glory, there is no such thing as a perfect place. There's also bugs pretty much everywhere. Every house has a little population of ants that's just accepted. Bali belly is very real. I've fortunately avoided it mostly so far, and there's always dust and traffic. Every beautiful spot you want to go to on this island, you have to go through a stream of scooters to get there. I got this question recently, and I think maybe if someone looked at my Instagram right now, they would assume that I have like a very high-shot, well-paying job, and that's why I can afford to travel so much and live like a cool lifestyle. But that is honestly not necessarily true. First of all, travel is usually not very glamorous to begin with. And second of all, it doesn't have to be expensive if you know how to be smart about it. And social media only shows you the highlights. This life is beautiful, but it's not effortless. I definitely didn't grow up thinking that I'd be a digital nomad. I don't think it's something that you set out to become necessarily, but I always knew I loved change and that I wanted to create a life that was completely my own. So after graduating from university last year, I realized I didn't want to just get an apartment and settle into a life that didn't excite me. So I put all my stuff in a storage unit and I started traveling. And so far I've been to 16 countries and still counting. And in the beginning I was freelancing in marketing and social media ads mostly, also branding and a little bit of content creation. However, I didn't have a stable income when I started, and hopping from place to place, running out of money, it was very stressful, and eventually I landed up back at my parents' house. It wasn't glamorous at all, but it was a necessary part of the journey. So now I have a more stable setup with my remote job, and that gives me the freedom to keep exploring. And I think being a digital nomad sounds romantic, but it really just means that you've made a non-traditional choice. You work online, you move around, you sacrifice quite a lot of things, and you learn a lot about yourself in the process. So there are some misconceptions, one being that it's always fun, but also one that it is difficult. Neither of those are true, in my opinion. Freedom can be overwhelming, especially without structure. You have to find ways to ground yourself when everything around you is constantly changing. And maintaining relationships can be hard, and loneliness is real. And at the same time, you end up in situations that you never thought you'd find yourself in, and you meet people from all walks of life, and you do so many things that you would never otherwise do, just living in one spot and doing the same thing always. And this being an active choice takes me to the second part of this episode, I guess. So to me, taking charge of your life doesn't mean that you have it all figured out. It just means that you have made a decision that you're not going to sit around and wait for something to happen anymore. It means turning your dreams into goals, to wear the things that you always imagined you would, to make the recipes you saved on Pinterest and to post a damn photo. That's for me, that's a reminder for me. To live in the present, because that is all you have. The future will never come. And once you realize that, you drastically change how you live your life and what actions you take. That is what happened to me, at least. I just realized that no one was going to come and tell me how to live my life. No one was gonna say, hey, you've waited long enough, you're allowed to start living now. It's something I had to create for myself. So this podcast is an extension of that. It's a place for me to share what I've learned, things I'm still figuring out, and everything in between. Whether that is dating or travel or creativity or building a brand or just trying to do something. I want to have the kind of conversations I wish I'd had when I was first starting out. If you're in a place where you feel like there's more for you, but you're not entirely sure what that looks like, this podcast is for you. And if you're trying to build something beautiful and real and personal like me, then you're in the right place. Thank you so much for being here for the first episode, and I can't wait to keep growing together. You can follow me on Instagram at Ylva. Just a short interference, I have actually just updated my Instagram handle to Ylva Sands, so that is where you'll find me now. So again, thank you so much for listening. I will catch you in the next episode, and you got this. Love ya. Bye.